Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's my RAV4 Hybrid. I bought it brand new less than 4 months ago. I've put over 5,000 miles on it, and in that time it has been a very good vehicle. But today, I'm going to talk with you guys about potentially selling it, about what its replacement is going to be, and what my experience has been with this and this Toyota platform in general for why it will be getting replaced at some point soon. The reason for making this video today is because usually when I get the itch to change out vehicles, it's not more than a few days later before that actually happens, so I want to give you guys the opportunity to comment below and let me know if there's other video ideas you want to see with this platform. If you do, and I've already done it, I will send you the link on your comment to let you guys watch that and to learn more about the platform. And if there's other video ideas you guys have, please comment below because I'd love to do them while I do still have this vehicle for a little bit longer. But today, there's going to be a lot of information I share with you guys, so if you get anything out of this, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below, as mentioned, and subscribe if you haven't already and you want to watch more videos. Usually I do a lot of car reviews, but I also keep you updated on my own personal vehicles. And with that said, let's get right into it. Just a little bit of quick backstory if you are new to my channel or you've only been following since I've had this RAV for the last few months. Is there a place, the Subaru Outback Wilderness, which I owned for over 3 years. Prior to that, I owned another Subaru, and then before that, it was Toyotas. The last 3 Toyotas I owned were 2 Tacomas. I bought those both brand new, and I also had a supercharged lifted FJ Cruiser. So I used to drive a lot of body-on-frame vehicles, a lot of body-on-frame Toyotas before switching to Subarus and then deciding it's time to try the RAV4. The reason I tried this vehicle out is because it's actually the #1 sold vehicle globally right now. The RAV4 is sold all over the world, and even in the United States, they sell over 400,000 units. So I wanted to see if this is just a plain Jane, regular but good SUV, or why is it so popular? Why do so many people like it? I've also never had a unibody Toyota before, and I've never had a hybrid, so I figured I want to try a new experience. So even though the Subaru was perfect, even though it didn't have any flaws, I decided let's just try the #1 global platform. Let's see how it does, and we'll try it out for a while. But also the Subaru, I kept that for over 3 years. Prior to that, I've never kept a vehicle longer than 2 years. And I think it's safe to say that I'm not keeping this vehicle nearly as long as I have with those. And I'll be honest with you guys, if I was a normal person, if I wasn't obsessed with different cars and different experiences, and the fact that I part-time get to make car videos is perfect for me because I like to experience a lot of things, but I don't necessarily like to own them for that long. I'm a little bit minimalistic in that way that I like to have less, and to me, less is more, at least in terms of material stuff. But this vehicle, I do think that the RAV4, this current generation, is completely underrated. I understand why so many people buy them, but unfortunately, these don't have a huge enthusiast following. Not like the Toyota 4Runner, not like the Land Cruiser, not like the Tacoma, not even like Subarus or Volkswagens or so many other platforms. For some reason, the RAV4 just doesn't have a lot of following. It doesn't have a huge aftermarket support for it. Sure, you can swap out wheels, tires, there might be a couple lift kits on the market, but there's not a lot of custom fabrication. There's not a lot of just crazy people doing crazy stuff, which I think is so unique about the platform, because this is just kind of a daily commuter. It's kind of a good vehicle, but it is very underrated. So some of the vehicles that I have been considering, what would I sell this for? What would I trade into? Well, I used to own a lot of body-on-frame vehicles, and being perfectly honest with you guys, after driving a few hundred vehicles, a lot of the body-on-frame stuff, a lot of the Toyota stuff is kind of disappointing. There's a lot of reasons for that. Most of those vehicles, like I just mentioned, they cost 50% to over twice as much as something like the unibody RAV4. They handle worse. They drive worse. The all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive system in some of those honestly isn't even that fantastic because they weigh 1,000 pounds more. They have a higher center of gravity, and they're just a little bit more numb feeling. You can't feel as much through the vehicle. So some of them I'm not impressed with in the snow. For instance, when I got out of my Toyotas and I got into Subarus, I was blown away at how much better my first Subaru handled in the snow, accelerating, stopping, handling, turning, all that, than any of my vehicles. Even on snowflake rated tires, those vehicles just were not that good. So some of the other disappointments with those and Toyota, which I do think they're getting better, sure, the reliability is questionable with their turbo engines. Compared to something like this that has one of the best, most reliable engines and electronic CVTs in the market today, this power plant might be about as reliable as anything currently sold in 2025. But those other vehicles, not only are they having problems, not only do they cost twice as much, and in most cases they don't handle as well, but they're just not as practical. If you look at this vehicle, it has 37 cubic feet of rear cargo capacity. That's about as much as a 4Runner, that's about as much as a Land Cruiser, but I'm pretty sure this actually has just as much rear passenger space as those vehicles. And don't even get me started on the Tacomas. Even the full-size Tacomas really just don't have a lot of room in the back seats. You can hardly fit full-size adults without their knees being cramped into the back. Even in the back of the RAV4 on the passenger side, where this seat is further back than my driver's side, I still have room in front of me. I can still recline the seats a few degrees, which is cool. And more importantly than anything else, the seats are actually comfortable and you have ventilation. The Tacoma doesn't have ventilation. For instance, how ridiculous is the TRD Pro? Those costs over $65,000. They don't have vents, and because of the fancy back seats, you can't even fit probably children in the back. So it just feels like you're paying a lot more and you're getting less vehicle, let alone the fact that usually they're slower because they're heavier. The engines are maybe overworked a little bit, unless you get something like the Tundra, but we know how reliable the Tundra has been. And to not even get backseat vents for your kids, for your pets, for grandma in the back, it's just kind of sad, the things that you are missing out. For the purpose of buying a name, for the purpose of buying an enthusiast vehicle, something with some heritage, something with a huge enthusiast following, there's benefits to all that. But the actual value that you're getting for day-to-day life, it's just not as good in my opinion. And guys, I'm a car enthusiast. I love vehicles. I love different experiences. I like unique and different, but reliable and safe and practical. And trying to balance out what I think is cool. I love the Tacomas I owned. I love the supercharged FJ Cruiser I used to have. Those are such cool vehicles. But body-on-frame vehicles, at least up until this current generation by Toyota, which thankfully they are finally getting on board with this, is they are not nearly as safe as you think. You think because you're driving a 5,000 to 6,000 pound piece of metal down the road, that it's actually going to be structurally sound and support you and protect you in accidents. And honestly, that's just not true. They don't have nearly as stringent crash test results. They don't need to have the same safety features that car and passenger and unibody vehicles have. That's just the government regulations. They are not as safe. You guys can check out full-size Tahoe, Suburban, truck crash tests for yourself. They don't hold up very well. A lot of the time they do have some poor ratings. And being a body on frame, it doesn't have the same crumple zones that a unibody does, where this vehicle is kind of like a vessel to protect you. And the RAV4, even though I don't think it's necessarily as safe as a Subaru in a crash test, I don't think it's necessarily the safest vehicle on the road, this is one of the best. It still is a top safety pick, even though it's not a top safety pick plus, and it does a good job overall at balancing life and doing a lot of the things that you need. So why would I want to be getting rid of it, you might ask? And honestly, the answer might surprise you guys. I really like this vehicle. I love that it's naturally aspirated. I love that it's Toyota's modern hybrid system, which is completely proven. I love this transmission. It does such a good job. Gives me a lot of peace of mind that I don't have to worry about the vehicle. And because I have snowflake mounted peak rated, all-terrain tires on it, this thing does well enough in the winter for my area. If we're not going to get a lot of snow with global warming and all that stuff, if this or whatever, if it's just an off year this year, this did completely fine. It still gets over 30 miles per gallon in most driving conditions. And I like the things that it does, but there's supposed to be a new one coming for 2026. A new one that is likely going to be very similar, very much the same, but slightly revised, because Toyota doesn't want to risk losing their audience. They don't want to do a major change because that might turn a lot of people off. And if they sell 1 million of these a year and they lose 10% of the market share just because they tweaked it too much, that's a lot. Some other compact crossovers don't even sell 100,000 units a year. So I don't think Toyota's going to drastically change this. I think they're going to keep the formula proven. And with a good set of tires, there's really not a lot of reasons to not like it or not consider it. So my current thought is I will probably, or maybe 80% sure, that I will buy the new generation when it comes out, the 2026, assuming it's still made in Japan, assuming it still offers silver paint, and assuming, it's not a complete disaster, which I don't think it's going to be, or that it's a turbo small engine or something off like that. In that case, I wouldn't consider it. But if it's like this, but newer, but better, that has the Camry system, that makes a tiny bit more horsepower, and it's just revised in a better platform, a little bit safer, and it just keeps working its way uphill, doing all the right things, then I'm 80% sure that that's what I want to buy next. But there are some other cool vehicles coming out. The new Outback, which may or may not be a hit. There's also the hybrid Foresters. There is a small part of me that would consider a body-on-frame vehicle if it could tow a lot, because I do want to start getting another project car at some point. In the past, I had a full bolt-on LS1 Trans Am that I built that before having a YouTube channel. Since having the YouTube channel, I bought and sold a 2023 Miata Club. That was a fantastic vehicle. Basically, it was bought brand new. Didn't have any issues, so I'm kind of conflicted on what do I want to do next. Do I want just a good daily driver, something that if it is the new generation, I probably will keep it for more than a year, maybe 2 years or even longer. I guess we'll just kind of see how life goes, what the vehicle's like, if it has any problems being one of the first. But because there aren't a lot of enthusiasts who care about the RAV4, I see the value in it, and I want to test out the new one for you guys if I have the opportunity to do that when the time comes and they start rolling out, hopefully in a few months, but we'll see what happens. Or maybe I'll try a different platform. But for me, it is a whole lot of fun to be able to get a vehicle, to think about every part of driving it, to think about the things I like about it, the things I don't like about it, and just to be honest with you guys before you spend or waste your money on a vehicle that costs so much. If this is one of the biggest purchases we will ever have in our lifetime, you don't want to make the wrong one. And I don't think that this vehicle gets enough credit, gets enough value, and enough basically following online. So I like it a lot, but it's not perfect. You guys know that from my other videos. I've knocked it. I've tried to be completely honest with the issues it has. But the only reason I probably wouldn't get another unibody crossover in my next vehicle as a daily driver is if I were to get really far into a project car, and I don't think I'm going to do that next. I think the next project car or truck I'm going to have is probably going to have a V8. It's probably going to be pretty reliable and drivable right off the bat, and then it'll get modified from there. It's not going to be a complete rebuild or anything crazy just yet, so I don't think I need a truck anytime soon. But we'll see what happens. I just want to give you guys a heads up because I know a lot of you guys have been following my RAV4 videos, and things change quickly. In a couple months, a lot of these other new vehicles like the Subarus and other automaker new models are going to start to roll out. And in case something happens quickly, I want to try to get all the videos that you guys are interested in. So again, comment below what else you want to see with this platform. While I still have it, probably going to be at least a few months, but honestly, who knows? And I wish you guys the best. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Like this video if you got anything out of it. That lets me know you want to watch more stuff like this. And subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, I wish you guys the best. Take care, guys.